All right, so there we go. Will Kane is like, we just realized we're so unbalanced here. All these liberals.
This is the first on Fox.
What is
3
this, Fox?
liberals
Is this
and
Fox
1
News?
conservative. This is
I'm a liberal.
MSNBC.
So-
I
And
make fun of hypocrisy.
All right, but Will, so that are those people really the gold standard of the Republican Party?
First, 2 things, okay? That video is a little bit like the loaded question. Will, when did you stop beating your wife? I mean,
When
you had
did
to
you
figure
stop?
it out.
Right?
When did you stop?
Because he never
As well
stopped.
But to answer your question, no, those people are not the gold standard. But I'm
Okay.
not embarrassed to have them in my party.
Well,
Michelle Bachmann doesn't embarrass you.
I'm not embarrassed of them, but they're not the gold standard of the party.
All right.
You want to know gold standard? Political gold standard? Paul Ryan, Mitch Daniels, governor of
Mitch Daniels,
Indiana.
very well respected.
Commentating gold standard? George Will. Philosophical gold standard? Clarence Thomas and Anton Scalia.
Well, we can
I'm glad you
debate
mentioned that
Wait a
because-
minute, Clarence Thomas, I'll give you Scalia on philosophical. Thomas, when does he ever speak? The guy never even
You're
asked
right,
the
you have
question.
to read, Alan.
I see. I need big print.
Bush, I think you'd be hard-pressed to find a leader that said, let's have violence.
That's right.
There are probably
All
a
right,
bunch of
let's
guys
take
with
a
white
deep breath.
dreadlocks
Jeff,
that
hold
said
on.
that.
Take a deep breath. Okay, a little bit of hyperventilating and overreacting on this. Alan, I think that's metaphorical for keep pressure on him.
Well,
An abstract
they should be
thought
afraid
is a
to
sign of
leave their
intelligence.
I think it's part of a mosaic where we're seeing kind of language and the kind of aggressive behavior and language on the part of the Republican Party, and that fits into that mosaic. And I
Okay,
think
this
it's
is back to my point.
Yeah.
I really am interested in your answer to this because I think that portion of the mosaic is really a minute part. It's really a small, unrepresentative part of conservatism, Tea Partyism, all these things we're attempting to attribute it to. My question really is for you, Alan, though, do you feel differently? You really feel like the mainstream conservatism wants to incite violence, is racist?
I think that mainstream.
But that being said, I'm going to allow you to really hate me, Mark, here.
Okay.
I don't think there's anything wrong with those stickers.
Well, it's free speech.
I think,
yeah.
I think
We have the right to say
exaggeration.
it.
I think exaggeration is an effective tool as long as it doesn't stretch reality too far. And I think I do
Obama
think,
pointing a gun at you or calling him a Nazi, a Stalinist.
hold on, I think Obama does have a socialist philosophy at heart.
No,
What is
you
he-
don't. I mean, look, I think that our policy, our economic policy, is a combination of socialism and capitalism. It always has been for 100 years. Social
Yeah, that's
Security.
right. That's true,
That's
Mark.
exactly right. So if you say that you believe in a mixture of socialism and capitalism, are you a socialist?
I think it's where you reach the tipping point on that. You're right that it's been a mixture. My hope is it would be much smaller on the socialistic part and much greater on the
Okay,
capitalist
but
part.
there's
And
only
we're
one
pushing-
socialist-
If it's a seesaw, man, we're pushing that seesaw right over the
How is
tipping point.
drilling? He's doing
We are-
everything to
well,
the
look, he
left.
is sending 30,000 socialist troops to Afghanistan.
Right.
So,
Well, they're there to hug people, like
Military
you
is a
said.
socialist
Right.
program.
Do you
Right.
think socialism and militarism are exempt from each other?
Well, isn't the military
Wasn't
socialist?
Nazi National Socialist Party?
Yeah, but that was actually against the, but that's a mislabeling, as you know.
You would be unwilling to say that President Obama is a socialist.
Yes.
Because you don't think
Yes.
he is a
Given-
socialist.
God, we're only 1 year into this deal. I mean,
Okay,
yeah.
because you
There's nothing in the Constitution that gives the government the power to mandate that people buy any particular product. I think that the government's powers, the federal government's powers, are laid out in Article 1, Section 7 of the Constitution. And it's very limited.
8 times later.
We could lay it out right here for us, and there's nothing in there about retirement plans, socialized
You know
medicine,
why? Because
mandating
our
insurance
forefathers
coverage.
did not write specifics. They wrote in broad
They wrote for the
generalities.
general
They wrote a
welfare.
blueprint.
It's right there in Article 1,
What's
Section
not?
But it
8.
strikes me
Can I
that
ask you a
you're not-
question? What's not included in the general welfare?
Most things are.
So
That's
the
what it
federal
means,
government
general
can do
welfare.
anything?
No, not anything.
You
What
just made
can't
the
they
argument
do?
that it could,
They can't quarter a soldier in their home.
according to
That's Third Amendment.
so the
There are things they
Constitution-
can't do. They can't, for example, torture people, even though Bush did. That's the Eighth Amendment. The other thing they can't do, they can't spy on you without a warrant. And that's another thing that Bush did.
So if it's not laid out specifically in the Constitution, the government can do it.
All right, we're going to move on. We got some other
No,
things. I want to
didn't say
get
that.
this email.